Before this video starts, I just want to say that I did make a petition to Disney to make a Disney Prince movie solely based on a prince and his life, maybe even a series like the Princess movies. I know this has nothing on the topic of what I'm about to talk about in this video, but I just wanted to put that out there. I would love if you would go over to it. I will put a link in the description below, and I would love if you could check it out, sign it, and share it. I want to make this happen, and if you guys want to, then just go ahead and support it. Alright, here you go to the video. Hey guys, it's Felicia, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I wanted to kind of make a video. I'm homeschooled, but there's a very big possibility that I might be going to school at the end of this year. I kind of wanted to make a storytime video because there is a reason why I became homeschooled. I've been homeschooled for 5 years now, and if I don't get to go into the school, then I'm going to be homeschooled for 6 years. So hopefully this works, because homeschooling really hasn't been the best for me, but let's just get on with the story. In 3rd grade, I moved here from Michigan, here meaning Tennessee. I moved here from Michigan. Now in my school, it was a private school, and everybody knew each other already, and everybody was already friends. So there was cliques that nobody wanted anybody else to be a part of. Me coming in 3rd grade and everybody else being together since kindergarten kind of left me out of the loop on a lot of things, but mostly friends. There was another girl that was there in 3rd grade, and she came that year also, so we became friends. We only spent time together. Like we didn't spend any time with anybody else, because everybody else, whenever we tried to spend time with them, they would like leave us out or tell us that they didn't want us playing with them. Basically, she was like my only friend, and we became best friends, and we stayed best friends until 6th grade. 3rd grade I thought was going to be a great experience. Of course, I wasn't really thinking about fitting in. It was 3rd grade, so that stuff didn't pop up in my mind. So I kind of just acted like myself, and if nobody wanted to hang out with me, then I was just going to let that happen. But thankfully, my best friend was able to be there, and we hang out. So the kids didn't like me at all. They didn't want to hang out with me, and they kind of just pushed me away. So fast forwarding to 4th grade, because not a lot happened in 3rd grade. It started around 4th grade. There was a boy in my class, and I'm not going to say his real name, but I'll call him Bob. Let's call him Bob. Anyway, Bob and I weren't friends, and I never talked to him before. But in 4th grade, I saw Bob on the merry-go-round outside in recess, and went up to him and asked him if everything was okay, because he seemed pretty sad. Turns out everything was fine, or so it seemed, and then all of a sudden the bell rang, so we went inside. Well, me being in 4th grade, I started feeling like the butterflies, and I'm like, what is this? I've never felt this before. So I ended up realizing that I liked Bob. I'm laughing because I love how I named him Bob. Anyway, so that same day, right when I walk in, there was a girl, and I'm not going to say her name either, but she was one of the types that pretended to be your friends and then stabbed you in the back later on. And that's exactly what happened. He was sitting in front of me, because our tables were together in groups, and it was 4 in each group. So 2 tables, we would be facing each other with our tables pushed against each other. He was sitting in front of me, and we were facing each other. So the girl was sitting on this side, and I remember looking over and whispering in her ear and saying, I really like him. I think I have a crush on him. Well, she decided to look over at Bob and tell him in front of everyone that I had a crush on him. And nobody liked me in that grade. There was a few people that I really didn't talk to, so I really don't know how they felt about me, but they kind of kept their distance, and I think it was because a lot of people didn't like me in my grade, so I think they just wanted to stay out of that. But yeah, he looked at me and kind of was like, oh, and that was the end of that. I felt so embarrassed, and I felt like I wanted to cry. I wanted all the emotions. I felt like I wanted to punch her because so later on that day, or later on that week, I don't remember. I remember though him telling me that he liked me back. So we started that little thing that little kids do, that they say that they're in love when it was just a crush. But I guess he was really my first crush. So my first real crush. I had like a little like crush back in first grade, but that wasn't a really like a real one. This was my first real crush, and it meant a lot to me, and he came up to me and told me that he liked me. Well, a lot of the kids didn't like that, and it started getting worse. They started getting mad at him because he was hanging out with me, and telling him that he shouldn't hang out with me because I'm not a good person, and basically taking him away from hanging out with me. And because it was fourth grade and we don't want anybody looking at us and we want to fit in, he would go and hang out with them. He would leave me. But we had our times when he would come over and sit next to me and we would hang out. But it happened a lot less than what it was before. So let's skip to fifth grade. Fifth grade was the time where it started getting really bad with the people and him, and people telling him not to hang out with me. And so we kind of went back and forth with him telling me, oh, I can't hang out with you, and me kind of being defensive and being like, oh, well, I can't hang out with you either, you know? It was a very confusing time. But then he would come and tell me that he still liked me, and it was all of that. Anyway, long story short, it did not last. His friends got to him, and he told me that he didn't like me anymore. I went through fifth grade feeling like kind of sad, and it kind of hurt because, you know, he's saying that he doesn't like me anymore, and then people started really not liking me. There was new kids that came to class, but everybody liked them because they were from other countries, or they're new and they just fit right in with the popular people. Let's just say I was never popular. Me and my best friend at the time were the only people that we could hang out with, so we would just make up our own games and hang out with each other. The teacher actually was like, you need to hang out with other people, you can't just hang out with yourselves. And I'm like, I understand that, but nobody wants to hang out with us, so even if we ask, they're gonna say no. She's like, well, you still need to try. So I was like, okay. Anyway, so that was fifth grade. Now, my teachers in fifth grade and sixth grade weren't the best. My fifth grade teacher, and I still love my fifth grade teacher. She's super nice, and I still see her sometimes to this day. Shout out to her. But we had a rough time when I was in fifth grade. So I'm not gonna say really what it was, but it had to do with my schoolwork, and it wasn't my fault, and I was having to redo all of it, and I couldn't catch up in time, so I didn't have that good of a grade in her class. But it wasn't my fault. It was a very confusing time. Anyway, sixth grade comes along, and this is where the story gets good. My teacher, which I am not going to say her name, of course, for privacy reasons, but she hated my guts. She targeted me and other people in the class, and basically was trying to ruin our lives. She tried to turn the other teachers against me. she gave me an F in her class, and in all my other classes I had A's and B's. There was like 1 or 2 C's. I'm not a perfect student. I'm not smart. But that was the only one I had an F in, and my parents were seeing my work. I was doing it okay. I was getting all of the problems almost right. Like, there was only a few ones that I should have had like a B, maybe even an A in that class, and I was getting a straight F. I felt so attacked by this teacher because she kind of went out of her way to just ruin my life. She would call on me for answers that she knew that I didn't know, and it would make me super embarrassed. And she would kind of like, she had class pets, so she would give the people that she liked more less work, and then gave the people that she didn't like more work. It was just really bad, to the point where I was telling my principal about this, but he couldn't really do anything. His hands were kind of tied, and I tried to write him a note. So it was for a spelling bee. So this is the reason why I wrote the note. We were having a spelling bee competition in our classroom, and we were just doing it with our classmates. And she said, if you talk, then you sit down. So my friend next to me, my best friend that was in my grade at the time, she looked over at me and was like, I don't feel really well. And I was like, are you, like, I'm trying to whisper, I'm trying not to seem like, you know, like I'm saying anything. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, what's happening? And she kind of like fell, and it scared me. So I real quick got down. I was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And my teacher said, both of you back to your class, your tables. And I was like, no, this is important. She fell. She doesn't feel good. Like, she kind of passed out. And she was like, no, I don't want to hear it. Go sit down. And I'm trying to explain to her what was happening, and she didn't want to hear anything. So I had to take my best friend back to her desk to make sure she was okay. And so I decided to write a note to the principal saying that, because this has been going on for a while, so I decided to let him know things that were happening. Told him about the incident, about the spelling bee, and in my words, because I was like 12 or 13 in this, I was like, I feel like she's being a bad teacher because she's not listening, and she automatically just told me to sit down without listening about my reason. And so I signed it at the bottom, folded the piece of paper and wrote to the principal on the outside, and then taped it and set it on my desk. So this video turned out a little bit longer than I wanted it to, or what I thought it was going to be, so I'm going to split it into 2 parts. So this is the end of the first part. Yeah, so I thank you for watching the first part, and I hope that everything's making sense so far, and I hope I'm not boring you to tears. And I will see you in the second part. So thank you guys. Love you. Bye.